All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Das Slate, a Wednesday edition. You know this ridiculously jacked, handsome duo on your screen. Jeff Ulrich, the Canadian Prince of Poutine. Reed T. Fowler, the happy, hairy Hawaiian. I am Emerson Latzia, repping the king today. Repping the king. Swagger, the king of swagger. AP, RIP, dog. All right, we are going to talk a lot of golf today. We're just going to do it because that's why basically all three of us have been put on this planet. First off, let's talk a little bit of football. I need to ask, Jeff, I know how you're doing.
Thank you.
Reed, I need to ask you, how are you on the 20-year anniversary of the Tuck rule?
Well, Emerson, how much time do we have? Is this a 2-hour show?
Yep, go ahead. You can take it all.
Okay, good. I'm going to filibuster this because it's a little loud. I apologize.
It's okay.
Look, the Tuck rule is something that I will never get over, especially being a resident in the New England part of this country. I remind every one of my Patriots amigos here that it was a egregious mishandling of the rules. And 2 decades later, gentlemen, what happens? Jerome Boger happens. And I don't besmirch the names of refs. I don't go out and say, look, ref this, ref that. I will have some tweets out there that will say this is questionable, this is bad. But JFC right now, JFC, gentlemen, because if there is not a more, look, I'm a conspiracy theorist for entertainment purposes only, because I think it's great to talk about these things, but I don't truly believe all of them. I do believe that there's life beyond this planet. I do believe that Jeff Ulrich is 6'5". I do believe a lot of things. What I will say, though, is that the Raiders, for as much as they did to get into the playoffs, no one wanted them in there. No one wanted the Raiders in the playoffs. Why else would you put that officiating crew in such a high leverage game? Because you know what? Every single time that guy who puts on the white cap officiates the game, something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. And this was a 14 or maybe a 4-point swing. This wasn't they get a first down, or this was a 50-yard bad DPI. This was a touchdown that should have never happened. And how much did the Bengals win by? 7 points. 7 points. And the Raiders still had a shot to take that into overtime. So, look, would the Raiders be in a better spot now than Cincinnati or Tennessee? No, they wouldn't be. That's not the point. The point is the Raiders got jobbed. We all know it. Tuck rule was a bad call. Whistlegate was a bad call. And the Raiders will forever be in infamy, the team that will never get past the first round of the playoffs unless they go undefeated and they win the Super Bowl in 150 years when we're all dust.
Always good to bring up the Raiders and remind myself, just remind everybody that Reed is really deep at heart, like a conspiracy theorist. So,
it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Just deep dive. Just go into the rabbit hole.
Damn, direction of those franchises just complete opposite directions after
Dynasty
that moment
started
in time,
20 years ago. The dynasty started for the Patriots 20 years ago, and they all talk about it. That game was the reason why a lot of those guys stayed for an extra few years.
Was that Rich Gannon still? Was that still Rich Gannon at quarterback?
My boy, Rich.
Rich?
We had Greg Biekert, who I think recovered the field or the fumble. Charles Woodson caused said fumble. We had a solid team, and there was Tim Brown. Was Jerry on that team at that point?
And let's not forget that after that game, you traded your head coach a month later.
Yeah,
and then you won the Super Bowl.
We don't want to talk about that. Let's not talk about that.
Well, it's no longer part of the NFL, the Tuck rule. Eliminated in 2012, but it's all good, Hey, you can forgive, you just can't forget. Actually, you can't forgive either. Well, let's talk about the team that just beat your Raiders, Bengals now. The Bengals moving on and will face Tennessee here, dudes. And Derrick Henry expected to be back, right, this weekend. I don't know how much of a load he's going to be carrying or how rusty he is going to be. He was on a ridiculous pace when he got injured. I believe it was week 8. But this is a 3.5 point spread here. Hey, Jeff, like, what are the chances you think the Bengals can go in here? We know what that offense can do and how ridiculous Jamar Chase is. What are the chances they can go in there and pull off the upset here of the 1 seed?
So, I mean, Tennessee is a highly variable team. I think we all know that. I mean, they're a team that does things a little bit backwards. You know, they run the ball when they're behind sometimes, but they have this weapon in Derrick Henry, who's now going to be back for this game, who can change the fluctuations of games with big runs, the fact that he's very productive in the run game. And, you know, so they win games weird sometimes, but they also can give away leads quickly because of the way they play. So we kind of saw that like in against Houston in the last game of the regular season. Their defense has played better though of late. And I think they're in a spot where it's, you know, the Bengals, I expect to make some plays at some point, but I think you got to give the Titans enough credit here to say that, like, I'm not interested in betting the Bengals money line. The spread is interesting. If I'm being dead honest, the most interesting bet for me in this game is probably going over the 47 points. It's a good weather game. We shouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, I haven't 100% checked on that, but it is Tennessee. And I think that Derrick Henry is going to be a lot more effective than people think. We're talking about a guy who's basically been practicing for 3 weeks. The Bengals rush defense over the last 3 weeks been very bad. This is not a good spot for the Bengals rush defense. Not a good spot for their defense at all, with A.J. Brown on the other side as well. I don't think they have a body to cover them. I think Tennessee will score points. It's just a matter of how many points does Cincinnati get back? Does the pressure get to Joe Burrow? And like I'm talking about like the pass rush, and it just kind of makes their offense flat, or do they put up a big fight here and maybe keep within 3? I'm not really interested in this line. I just like taking the over on the game.
It feels like, Reed, a weekend that we do have 4 reasonably like even matchups here. And do you believe this could be the first of several upsets?
Probably not. I think Cincinnati could be a team that, you know, that goes along the lines of the Giants, the Packers, and those teams that kind of got in and rode their momentum into the Super Bowl. But you're running into a buzzsaw of a running game that if Derrick Henry is even 75%, like Jeff's talking about, this is a Cincinnati Bengals team that, you know, how many guys did we see in the defensive line for Cincinnati go down? I mean, that's not something that we talked about yet, that Trey Hendrickson is probably not going to be in this game, or if he is, he's going to be banged up. Ogunjobi, who also left that game. And those are massive pieces. You know, Sam Hubbard is fine, but those are massive pieces to stop the run or to apply pressure on Ryan Tannehill, because that's how you disrupt Tennessee, right? Is you get pressure on Tannehill, and he's not good under pressure at all. Speaking of the matchup for A.J. Brown, he gets Eli Apple, and Eli Apple's been better throughout the season from when he started, but he's still ranked like 71st out of 120 DBs on PFF.
They were picking on him last week too.
Yeah. And guess who's 8th in receiver grade on PFF? It's AJB, right? Ooh. Like, he is solid. And what do these guys do always, right? We know this, is they go across the middle, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and where are the Bengals most susceptible? It's across the middle. And so I'm a little bit worried in that sense. And I'm surprised that there hasn't been more action on Cincinnati to bring this down to 3. And that's probably the only spot when we're talking about the spread, is getting Tennessee at 3, right?
Yeah. I mean, the time to jump on Tennessee was like yesterday when this was still 3. I don't know if it's even going to get down to 3 again. Like, I think people are starting to realize it's not even that I think necessarily people are buying into the Titans. I just think they realize, like, the Titans with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, like, it's a tough ask, right? For any team. I mean, this is a team with big wins over big teams. So I think that just looking at the game, at 3 points, you're basically saying these teams are like neutral on a neutral field. I don't know. I think this line may even get to 4. It wouldn't shock me.
One thing too, sorry to cut you off there, Jeff, but like the way the Bengals win is to get you know, the Titans off schedule, right? Of wanting to run the ball. So they got to go up early, like 14, 17-0. And who are they going to do that with? It's going to be this guy, right? It's going to be Jamar Chase against really good teams, playoff-worthy teams. This guy's got like 1,000 touchdowns, right? Like, he's just a guy that they feature. And in the run game too, if Joe Mixon can't get anything done, and look, Tennessee doesn't put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. They're kind of middle of the pack in terms of their defense. Their secondary is susceptible. I know Bukes loves taking Cincinnati, even on the alternate lines of 6.5, making them the favorites to get plus money. But I take a look at this, and the way they do that is getting Jamar Chase the ball early and often, and getting him touchdowns and getting up early fast. So if you like that, even taking the first half for Cincinnati, if you feel that's the case, Cincinnati plus 2.5 seems like a solid bet. Or excuse me, first half at minus 105 to get out soon, get out fast, so Tennessee can't run the ball.
And the Titans defense was just 25th against the pass. So that's a bad sign with Burrow coming to town.
It is, but they really did improve towards the end of the year. And I think that's the one thing you need to understand about the Titans. Like, they made some additions in the offseason. Janoris Jenkins played a lot better towards the end of the year. Their pass rush has been better. And it definitely is a defense that, Chase could and Burrow could really go off against. But it's also a spot where I don't think people are giving enough credit. That's why I just don't understand this line. I just don't think there's enough credit being given to the Titans pass rush and just their defense overall. They're pretty good towards the end of the year, man. This is the only team, I believe, in the last 10 games of the season against San Francisco that held them under 20 points. Like the Titans, the team everyone says is an easy task, easy matchup. They're the only team that held San Francisco under that total. So I don't know, man. I just don't think there's enough credit. And again, it's not that I don't like Cincinnati. Like, Steve could be 100% right. Maybe that's how the game goes. But I still don't think there's enough respect being given to the Titans.
I mean, well, speaking of the 49ers, though, like, this is a game, the 49ers and Packers, this is a game just oozing with playoff history, but there are a lot of question marks in this one. Really, just one big question mark, and that's Jimmy G here, Jeff. How do you approach betting this game right now? Because there's a chance he doesn't play, right? With his shoulder all banged up now on top of the thumb injury.
Yeah. We talked about this one at the end of the week, or the start of the week, sorry. And I felt like I was the only one who really wanted to give the Packers some respect. Like, I just feel like people are, the San Francisco offense is great. I just talked about it. I mean, they've scored 23 points in 9 of their last 10 games. They're just a hard offense to keep down. But I think this is a spot where Devonta Adams, people are just forgetting, he tore the secondary apart in the regular season, and he's going to do it again. And not only is Jimmy G banged up, Nick Bosa has concussion issues. I would guess Bosa's probably going to play, but he's going to come off a week of no practice too. The Packers are going to be ready for him. I think there's, I don't think this line should be bigger, but at 6, I'm not really interested in just hopping on the 49ers haphazardly because, they got this great offense. This is too big. I think if anything, you should be looking to get the Packers if this dips under 6. And I think this was actually at 5.5 yesterday. So, potentially some money was thinking the same thing here. And then you've got the Garoppolo injury we haven't even talked about. I mean, look, the Packers, they've been pretty good in pass rush too. I mean, there's a scenario here where the Packers knock Jimmy G out of this game. So, I think this line at 6 is pretty much correct, but I would still lean Packers at 6. I really would. I just think that I'm just not sure why we'd want to look out of our way to fade the best against the spread record in the NFL this year. Yeah. A team coming off a bye with a really big edge at quarterback too. So.
And there's obviously the health of, and we've talked about it on the sweat this week already, guys, the health of Nick Bosa is going to be crucial in this matchup, Reed. I'm not sure what updates have been tweeted out today. What do you got?
Sorry. Last thing. I mean, if you're interested in the Packers, it is potentially, you should maybe just be getting on them at 6. I know I said 5.5 before, but there is potential for this to move to 7. If Bosa gets ruled out, if there's no certainty on Jimmy G, or it just looks like he's barely practicing, there's a scenario where this maybe even gets up to 7.5 or something. So just to keep an eye on, I mean, I'm definitely in on the Packers at -6 here, but this could easily move, and then it becomes obviously just a different scenario with a different line. So
and Reed, this is currently tied with the Bengals and Titans as the lowest total of the weekend. They're at 47, but again, Bosa has a question mark. But in terms of their offense, at least with the 49ers, their run game here can be the key to success, right? Because the Packers, 3rd worst team in the league in rushing yards allowed per game. And I know their overall numbers look good, but I think a lot of that's because their opponents are often just left chasing the game there in the second half.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too, Emerson? You bring that up, and Garoppolo, if he's not in, like the Packers are also one of the worst defending the rushing quarterbacks and running quarterbacks. Trey Lance comes in, even though you don't like that at all if you're San Francisco, right? Like that gives you an extra fold. But what I will say is that Jeff's absolutely right, and that was the point I'm going to make. If you like Green Bay, you got to get on them now, because if that Bosa news comes out that he's not practicing, or Fred Warner is not practicing, right? He got banged up in that game, and he's an all-pro linebacker, and Jimmy G's not practicing. I don't think he practiced today. You're going to see this creep up to 6.5, 7, 7.5, and you're going to miss out on getting Aaron Rodgers, probably the MVP, and a healthy Green Bay team under a touchdown in Lambeau after a bye in the playoffs, right? All of those things factor in. If you like San Francisco, you probably want to get this, right? Wait until that news potentially comes out that they're in, right? Like, some news that they're in, and it goes down, or like it goes down more, right? Because I think that factors in, it goes up like 6.5, 7, 7.5 for you getting more points. Because if you take a look at that first matchup, right? Trey Sermon was the running back, not Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel wasn't their running back, and he's arguably their RB1 with Eli Mitchell. This offense is completely changed from that first time that these two teams met, where the 49ers, I think, covered, right? I think it was 38 or 30 to 20, 28 in favor of the Packers. But to what Jeff was saying, Devontae Adams had like 12 catches in that game or whatever it was.
It was,
12 for 132 and a touchdown. Like he absolutely, and credit to LaFleur, right? He gets them in the right spots, and Josh Norman is not a cornerback that you have any faith in if you're the secondary, if you're the San Francisco secondary. Emmanuel Mosley is fine. Nick Bosa didn't really have a big game last time these two teams met. I'm not saying that's the case, but Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out quickly. I'm with Jeff here. I'm with the Packers -6. It's something that I already bet. It's something that you want to get in now, because that news comes out and this number creeps up to over a touchdown. That'll be hard to look at Green Bay at 7.5.
This is a spot too. Like Aaron Rodgers is going to have absolutely no problems just piling on here if this gets out of hand early. Like you could see the Packers just score 40 because A, it's the 49ers. It's the team who didn't draft him, and B, like they have some playoff losses to avenge here. Like this has been a bad spot for Green Bay in the past. So just absolutely like embarrassing, pulling the pants down to the 49ers. Like Aaron Rodgers will take some glee in that. So,
well, on Sunday here, while I think the Packers could easily take care of business depending on how some of those injuries play out for the 49ers, I don't know if this matchup could have been any worse for the Buccaneers, really, because they can't seem to get away from these key injuries on offense, especially now on the offensive line after last week. We know the Rams have beaten them twice the past 2 seasons when Brady has been on the team, including earlier this year. And then to get to Tom Brady, to get under his skin, to disrupt him, we've talked about it once again on the sweat. You put pressure on him up the middle. You know who the Rams have? They have Aaron Donald right now. And it seems like the Rams offense is kind of coming around, I guess, starting to play its part. At least they look good when it mattered the most this last game, last week. Like, Jeff, it's a tight one. It's a field goal spread here. And I think a lot of people out there are picking the Rams to upset the Bucs.
Yeah, this game of all the three of them, I mean, I have the least hottest take about. I feel like this line is correct, and I've been trying to like guess, just waiting for like maybe like a little bit of a collapse from this Buccaneers team, and they really haven't done it. I mean, yeah, they struggled like for a week against the Jets, and they had a weak schedule, but man, they just showed up and just demolished the Eagles easily, and they look like the team that had the elite defense and wasn't going to get scored on, was going to put pressure on. But this is an interesting matchup. I don't have a hot take here. I just feel like the Rams are still a team I don't necessarily know if I want to trust. And now they have this is far head and shoulders a much tougher matchup than last week. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like the opposite of the Cardinals. They have experience. They're not going to be like doing silly stuff under pressure, like chucking the ball over their head in their own goal line, right? So there's no freebies here. Like the Rams are going to have to come out and win this game. And it, they've been a little bit up and down this year too, but this does feel like a spot where some of these Rams star players are going to show up. So I will lean the Rams side here. 3.5 or 3, excuse me. It feels like the Bucs maybe aren't getting much respect, but I'll lean Rams slightly just to give a pick and give a side. Not necessarily one that I'm super high on right now, though.
And there he goes. Yeah, I heard his roommates. Yeah, running around back there.
Yeah.
Well, mine are perfectly behaved, just sleeping behind me, as my children do. Anywho, Reed, you leaning the same way, or you sticking with Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think, I'm with Jeff, leaning towards the Rams. You don't obviously like Stafford outside of a dome, but you take a look at this matchup, and this one's harder to dissect because both of these teams played their opponents last week, didn't really show us much, right? Stafford threw 17 attempts, 17 times?
The biggest thing is I just don't know how good this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is with all these injuries, right? Like it's hard to really give them a baseline of where their kind of ceiling is with all these injuries. But I think the Rams have shown that they're starting to get it together. They're injecting Odell Beckham in more. I just lean Rams here, but it's like a soft lean for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll have a little bit harder lean for the Rams. When you take a look at this matchup, like Sirianni and Hurts, along with Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, they were both overmatched at every aspect. And now you take a look at McVay and Bruce Arians, and while both of these coaches, especially Arians, make some questionable calls, you take a look at this Rams team, and Stafford against the blitz is one of the best in the NFL. And who blitzes more than Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers? Probably no one in the NFL. They send a lot of blitzes. And the defensive line for Tampa Bay, we talk about their offensive line. Tristan Wirfs is probably not going to play. That's massive. Jensen, their center, was banged up, right? Ali Marpret earlier this season got absolutely dominated by Aaron Rodgers. And what the Buccaneers do a lot, guys, is they leave their cornerbacks on islands. Yeah. Right. They send a blitz, and they trust these guys one-on-one, and it's Cooper Kupp and it's OBJ. I just like this secondary and this defense, not necessarily as strong of a run defense as they were early. I look at the Rams right now at +3. Maybe you wait for this to come to 3.5 if you get good news on Tampa Bay's offensive linemen. Having said that, you might get bad news, right? Like if you're backing the Rams and this could go down. I take a look at this Rams team. I like them preseason to win it all. And I look at this matchup, but like you mentioned, Emerson, this is not what you want to see if you're Tampa Bay, is a Rams team that's playing really well and that's healthy. Their secondary, yes, is a little bit banged up, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be a huge factor, down the stretch. Last in that earlier game with the Rams and the Bucs, no AB for that game, but I don't really think that matters. Brady threw it 55 times in that game, and they were only able to put up 24 points.
Yeah, that was insane. Both those, I think he threw for north of 400 yards. Stafford was close to
touchdown.
350. Yeah, I know it is kind of wild. Was that? I don't have the stats in front of me. Was that like an Uncle Lenny game here, Uncle Leo? And that's another thing. Like you would expect the run game to factor in more in the postseason here, but that's just another section of that team, part of that offense that has question marks right now.
Uncle Leo
the Rams
carried it 4 times in that game for 8 yards.
It
was Stafford threw for 4 touchdowns. Brady got sacked 3 times in that game as well.
Yep. I mean, the Rams here, if they can keep that balance on offense and provide Stafford the protection that they did on Monday night, against the Cardinals, they could no doubt go into Tampa Bay and upset the odds. Just got to keep an eye on those injuries.
Around 60% of the bets right now and 67% of the handle on the Rams money line. That's just money line. It's actually about even on the spread. So really even action on the spread in this game. The Bills Chiefs is the same too, really even action on the spread, but then the underdog getting more action in both games on the money line. So again, no real lean towards in terms of public betting right now in terms of the spread.
Well, that was actually 1.5 a little while ago. Now it's back to 2.5 for the Chiefs and the Bills. This game is going to be like insane. Like this is going to be the highlight of the weekend. I'm already looking forward to it. Obviously, there's some Bills love in our household with where my wife is from, but this is a hell of a game to close out the divisional round. Like both these teams look superb. It's the first game, I believe, in playoff history where you have two quarterbacks coming off 5 touchdown performances. The Bills are looking for revenge. They look like a more balanced team than they were last year when they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Like Reed, could the Dogs go in there and upset the Chiefs here and Patrick Mahomes, who are trying to make it to a 3rd straight Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they could. This is probably the game that I'll just enjoy and not have any action on, because
it seems like a good one to do that with, Reed.
Yeah, and this could easily come down to a turnover late that changes the entire trajectory, right? You'll see like, covering, winning, and then 0 because Allen or Mahomes throws a touchdown late or a turnover, right, a fumble. I take a look at, and look, these teams have known each other for quite some time. The Bills in their current composition was to play and compete with the Chiefs, right? Like that's how they're operating. They have strong guys in the secondary. For the Bills, they have cover linebackers like Matt Milano, Trey Edmonds, and of the sort, right? And those guys aren't new acquisitions, but Poyer and Micah Hyde are all pro, corner DBs. And Travis Kelce is someone that dominated in their first matchup this season. But I think if you're Buffalo, you want that same exact game to happen, which is, look, take all this stuff right beneath and underneath the coverage. We'll do exactly what Tampa Bay did in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, which is play that 2 deep cover, or cover 2 deep, and let you have everything in front and piss off Patrick Mahomes where he wants to go for the big play and then an interception or a turnover happens. Yep. And so the Bills right now, Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott, Brian Dabble, these guys are something to really reckon with. And you take a look at how they designed last week's game against the Patriots. It was a masterclass of how to call a game. Right. And I take a look at that. Getting points for Buffalo is fine. You can also say, Patrick Mahomes, you're getting one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in our generation, under a field goal, which rarely happens. So I can make cases for both. But I think Kansas City's defense is a little more suspect than people think. I know they're playing better, but I lean Buffalo here.
Yeah, and we could look back to the Bills routing Kansas City at Arrowhead back in week 5. I mean, Josh Allen went for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns here. Buffalo averaged 21 yards per reception in that game. The Bills are even better. The Kansas City has got its ish together as well, at least at this point, Jeff. But the Bills have Devin Singletary now, and just feels like that they have players on both sides of the ball to really frustrate the Chiefs.
They do. They're very complete team when they put it all together.
It was a perfect game last week. I mean, a pathetic performance by the Patriots, but a perfect game.
From just a watching and a recency bias, it's really hard for me to speak against the Buffalo Bills. Like it's hard, but I think that we have to look at this from a betting aspect. I mean, I think that this is getting baked into the line. I think this line is an overreaction. I really do. What have the Kansas City Chiefs done in the playoffs the last 3 years to be under 3-point favorites against the Bills? Like nothing. This is a team that's dominated the AFC. Now they're playing their best football of the year too. I get it. Mm-hmm. The Bills looked great last week. Are they just going to be able to do that same thing again on the road against Kansas City? I don't think so. I just don't think so. Again, the Bills had a bit of a weaker run towards the end of the season. Honestly, they beat a little bit of an overrated New England Patriots team, a good Patriots team, but a team that clearly just wasn't ready for what was coming at it last week. I won't be shocked if the Bills win this game at all. But I think, again, Reed said, it's going to come down to the final possession. I'm still leaning Patrick Mahomes here, man. Like to me, he's still like the guy you want in that situation. And yeah, he makes a good point about how you beat the Chiefs. I mean, the deep cover, it's really worked, and it certainly worked for Buffalo in the week 1. But man, this is such a different Chiefs team than what we saw. Tyreek Hill looked a lot healthier to me last week. I think you're going to see Kansas City break off some big plays. And at the very least, you're going to see them make the Bills win this game, like in a final drive or something. So I don't know. Again, I probably even have a weaker lean here towards Kansas City than I did the Rams, but I would lean the Chiefs just for the simple fact. I think this line is just a bit of an overreaction to what we saw last week. And at under 3, I got to take the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're buying
All right.
Buffalo at the top too, right? Because of what Allen did. I mean, that
and
probably
look,
is his best game of his
I love
career.
Sean McDermott. I think Sean McDermott is easily one of the
Yeah.
top 3 coaches in the league. Everything everyone's saying about it is true. It's just when we look
Yeah.
at this line and we look at what the Chiefs have done and who they are, and it's just it just doesn't really make sense. I think this line should be 3.
Well, and the Bills, right? They've lost to teams like the Jaguars. Like,
Yeah,
Damn right, bro. You're
right?
damn
And,
right.
like they're close games with the Jets. And so those things, give you question marks about Buffalo, and especially coming off big games. Josh Allen isn't the best quarterback coming off these huge games, right? Like he'll have this, either the teams figure him out or he'll just not have the same performance, thinks that he can do the same thing and he forces some passes. So, and that's why, right? If you can make cases for both sides, legitimate cases, the line's probably pretty fair.
Should be a great game. Though. This is easy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Emerson said, this is the crown jewel. It's going to be super interesting because I think you have scenarios with all these other games where, maybe the Bengals could make a good comeback if they get down early. That one could be, I think that one actually is the second interesting game, but the 49ers could just be that game could be toast quickly. The Bucks coming in really injured. Are we just going to get like a low scoring kind of slugfest where like one team just salts it away? I think there's a couple duds on the potential there, but this game, it doesn't matter if the Bills are behind 14 points, like the game isn't anywhere over. I mean, I'll probably hit up the Bills money line if they get behind early because both these quarterbacks have the chance to easily make up huge deficits in a snap of the fingers. So,
and Emerson, you were talking about the 49ers in their run game to kind of Jeff's point. If they're successful in their run game, San Francisco, I would hammer the over. Because if they're scoring touchdowns at an impressive clip, Green Bay is coming back and they're passing it and they're scoring quickly.
All right, good stuff. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. Let's go to the PGA Tour. Let's talk about dudes who can roll a good meatball. The tour, Reed, has departed your beautiful state of Hawaii back to the U.S. mainland, the most recent edition here of the American Express. It's an event dating back to Arnold Palmer's 3-stroke victory, by the way, in 1960.
Bob Hope,
who's a good
classic.
What? Yeah. Who's a good bet here? Who's a good bet? Who's going to give us some value, man? Who's going to help the people make some money, Fowler? Both of you guys, by the way, I'm going to give you credit. Both of you guys had fantastic write-ups for DK Nation. Like, it's just, you're pumping out the content left and right. And I'm very proud to call both of you good friends. Reed, talk to me about some of the guys you like here, dude.
I initially liked, and I know Jeff will talk about him, his fellow countryman, Cory Connors. I think he's in a good spot, plus 2,200. If I'm going at the top, which, right, the average odds of the past 5 winners at this tournament is like 168, like plus 16,800. We saw Adam Long win at, plus 60,000 or 600 to 1 odds, 500 to 1 odds. So why this is the case, right? 3 rotational course. They're easy courses. They're par 72s. 2 of the 3 of them are par 72s under 7,200 yards.
Yeah.
Birdie fest.
Ooh, it's a 54 hole cut, right?
Yep.
So does that change the way you'd want to bet this or even build a DFS lineup?
Absolutely. Is you can take more chances, right? Because you have 54 holes on the DFS side. You can take more chances because you get more scoring, and there's only 1 day as opposed to 2 that your guys aren't scoring. But it lends itself to longer shots. And a couple of longer shots that I've already, gotten a ticket on is Gary Woodland here at plus 9,000. If you got him earlier in the week at plus 10,000, I think that's a solid bet. Someone that could easily go toe and toe with the top guys. He's healthy. He was injured last year quite a bit last season. So I like him quite a bit. And there's some other guys. I like Russell Knox for a top 20.
Man, you say I heard Russell and I go, Henley? No, going
Henley's
Russell Knox.
4 cuts, missed 4 straight cuts here. I don't know if this is a good spot for him. Kramer Hickok is a popular play, but here's the last one that I'll talk about is Tom Hoagie at plus 13,000 to win. All of his derivatives I like as well. Top 5, top 10, top 20. He's a guy that just plays these courses well. He played last week. You see, if you follow Jeff on on Twitter. He puts out the trends pretty early of this tournament. And 12 of the last 13, Jeff, have played at least 1 week previous in Hawaii coming into this tournament. So Hollywood Hoagie, as Pat Mayo, our friend of the pod, likes to call him, plus 13,000 to win.
Ulrich?
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those events where you definitely want, like, you know, a warm-up. Like the Sony Open and Maui are good warm-up events for this one. I mean, they're easy scoring. They're Bermuda greens. This is an event for betting. Like, I mean, I like Bizet. That's the dude. Yeah. He had a great warm-up event last week in Sony. He hit the ball well, very much like Siwoo Kim did last year. He's another good young player. I think a plus 6,000, like that's my pre-event target. But I'm taking a little bit different route. This is, in terms of betting, this is a very good event to bet in play, because players will get out on the La Quinta, on the Nicholas tournament course, and sometimes they'll go low. And the sports books don't adjust to those as quickly because the scores don't get reported as quickly. There's 3 different courses to cover. You can really get some good numbers on guys in play. So I'm taking that approach this year. Bizet is actually probably going to be my only pre-event bet, except Emerson, for one other player. Can you guess?
Is it going to be Russell Henley?
It is going to be Russell Henley. Do you want to know why it's going to be Russell Henley? You son of a gun!
What are you doing?
Are you kidding me? Taylor Gooch at plus 2,000? And Russell Henley is sitting there plus 3,500. We just saw Russell Henley blow the doors off all the field, except for that absolute joke that was Hideki Matsuyama down the stretch and his cheating putter. I'm just kidding.
Dude.
Russell
he can't close events. It dated back to last season. He's on a winless streak of 5+ years.
Narrative. Shush. In all seriousness, Russell Henley lost to Hideki Matsuyama's best putting performance ever. Okay, so just keep that in mind. He's plus 3,500. He's actually bigger in odds than he was last week. You've got guys like Seamus Power and Taylor Gooch now, like almost half his odds. He's actually pretty good value here. Yeah, I'm going back to the well.
All right,
going back to the well.
Can I say something about Russell Henley?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say anything about Russell Henley. The fact that like he's missed 4 straight cuts here just doesn't suit his eye. Maybe he plays well and should have won in Sony the week previous, and he just doesn't feel great about it. I see what Jeff is saying, right? Because Russell Henley is one of the best ball strikers that we have on tour, right? And if you don't get, it's like if Cam Smith doesn't have his best performance and John Rahm wins. If Hideki doesn't have his best performance, then Russell Henley wins. And all of this talk about 5 years of him not winning is out the door because Russell Henley finally got his win. But when you compare him to guys like Seamus and Taylor Gooch, and especially Gooch in general, you take a look at this course and how guys have played it in the past. Gooch shot a 67, 64 in like 2019 on the stadium course. And he finished 4th here. I mean, look, I get it. I get what you're saying, Jeff, about Russell Henley. And it's a tall order to ask someone like Taylor Gooch to win twice in 4 or 5 starts.
Mm-hmm.
But Russell Henley, 4 missed cuts here. He could be 1,000 to 1 or like 10,000 to 1, and I wouldn't bet him because he just doesn't play well here.
True. Devil's advocate. He's in good form right now. Maybe too good a form to completely fade because 5 top 25 on the season, 4 in his last 7 starts of last year, and he does have the tour's second best scoring average. I'm looking at it here.
Yeah.
Ranks 3rd in strokes gained tee to green. Exactly. But some of his best golf that he's played in his career without winning has been recently. So I'll give Jeff that. The form is there. It's just like
or something. If he's on
you know what I mean? I'm with you on that. Like
Nick, if he's on Nicholas or La Quinta,
bro,
then yeah.
I mean, I don't even
look. You couldn't birdie down the stretch, and then Hideki's like, "What's up, dude? I want the Masters."
Got sweaty.
Dismissal.
Arms are heavy. Like he got a little B-rabbit there. He threw up his mom's spaghetti on 72nd.
All right. Enough with you two jokers. God.
Did you have anyone else, Jeff?
I don't know.
I feel like we cut you off when we just wanted to bury you.
Trying to change the subject now.
Seabez bet is good though. I like Seabez.
Seabez, I think, is in a very good spot this week. I think 61 is fair. I'm going to throw in a couple like longer shot guys. Again, I'm really trying to like hold the clip until we get in play here. But There's certainly some dudes like Reed's approach is fine. I mean, I think you should be sprinkling a couple guys. I mean, you mentioned Russell Knox. I think Chris Kirk is in a very similar spot. Had a decent week last week. He's certainly someone who can just pop with the putter and approaches on a shorter course like this. Good record. So Chris Kirk is in play. But there's a long list of guys like that. Like you could throw Andrew Putnam in the mix. You can even go deeper than that. So it's all about approaches this week. If you want to get like 3 or 4 guys on your card, you could throw bombs out there with 3 or 4 guys over $1,000. But I think another approach is just to take a stance on a guy you like. Maybe it's Connors, maybe it's Gooch, maybe it's Russell Henley. And then you save a little bit of cash back for this in-play stuff. Because I'm telling you, there will be good chances to get guys, even after the first round, if a guy's 3 shots back, but he's playing the easy course next week, look at his odds and say, okay, he's playing the easy course tomorrow, and he still shot 4 under on the hard course, which is the stadium. So lots of opportunity for that kind of stuff this week.
Was it here? Was it Pro-Am, Jeff, where Hadwin shot 59 and we only saw the final putt of his 59?
Yeah, I think it was here. Wasn't
really?
It?
Yeah, because he wasn't on the stadium course and they don't have TV coverage for the other 2.
I think it was here, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah, we just saw like his last putt for 59. We didn't see a single.
That's right. Yes. Oh, by the way, here's Adam Hadwin about to do something very historic.
Read very quickly. Tony Finau plus 400, top 5, finished solo 4th here last season.
I can never. Of course, Otto.
I just wanted to hear it.
He does actually. He's from a strokes game total perspective on course rotation, like the Pro-Am here are like he's one of the best in terms of strokes game total. But right, get him out on another course where he's much more fitted and he's playing a little bit more in form.
Okay. And then I'm looking at, I think he's plus 225 for top 10. And man, since 2007, since 2017, the start of that season, he's got 32 top 10s. So
maybe a little Sanjay too, a little Sanjay comeback.
All right, dudes. Good times, great oldies. Bless both of you for spending time with each other and myself and producer Eamon and AC on the 1s and 2s. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Reed's back tomorrow for a Thirsty Thursday edition of the Slate with Adam Kaufman. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the Sweat, 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Can't wait for Emerson's report.